You're listening to the ZABE Smart Mortgage Podcast, a podcast show that inspires and educates you about the lending process, what trends we're seeing, how to get the best rate, and so much more. Hosted by Fidel Dorado, team leader for the Fidel Dorado team at ZABE Mortgage Group. Fidel has helped hundreds of people with their mortgages, and now he wants to help you become mortgage smart.
Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the ZABE Smart Mortgage Podcast. My name is Fidel Dorado with the Fidel Dorado team at ZABE Mortgage Group. And today we have Jorge Cuevas with Villagehomes Realty today as our guest, where we're going to be talking about how to better structure your offer, be a better realtor, become more informed while you're out there searching for properties, and basically, hopefully have more success, increase the rate of how you get your offer accepted, right? So welcome, George.
Hey, Fidel. Thank you for having me here today.
We've worked together for a long time. We've been working together for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years now, maybe. The market is always changing, especially in this market where it's called a seller's market, right?
Yeah.
And, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, talk about what company you work for, how long you've been doing real estate, and things like that. So, let us know.
I work with Villagehomes Realty, helping the community and achieving their dreams with home ownership. And yeah, it's a very challenging time right now with trying to get families into homes, but we're still achieving that, But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, man. I know that, and when I first met with you, it was as a buyer, right? I helped you purchase your first home, I don't know how many years ago, right? And several of your family members, and then as you graduated into the real estate business, we've stayed in contact, and we talked about how to build the business together, database, just give you different perspectives of how to become the realtor that the clients need, right? To bring value, to bring service, something that really, in all honesty, is lacking in our industry. So, and as we've experienced in like we just talked about, is the home search process. So once we pre-approve somebody and we refer them out to you, or you refer them back to us, or whatever the case may be, is when they're out there looking for a house, how is that, and what are they experiencing? On the realtor side, when you're out there looking for homes, how does that work? Do you call them? Do you schedule the appointment? Do you put them into some kind of a system that they get alerts for new properties that are coming out?
So the first thing I do is I schedule an appointment with the buyers. When that's the absolutely first thing I do. Get on the phone, call them, schedule an appointment. A face-to-face conversation is always better. Yeah. So I always have a face-to-face conversation with them, because I feel it's very important for them to know who they're going to be working with, who's going to be representing them, to start building that relationship with the buyer, start building that trust. And that way I can put a face to who's going to be helping them throughout this process.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I actually do. So after I do that and I meet with them, we talk about what they're looking for in a home. Is it a certain location? How many members are in their family? Because if it's only a husband and wife, or just one person or two people without kids, they might be okay with doing a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, instead of a 3 or 4 bedroom. So it just depends on the size of the family that they might be looking into something different. So I do that. After we talk about what the home and what they're looking for, then I set them up on a auto prospect. Auto prospect is an email notification based on the criteria, and right now with just a limited amount of inventory that we have, I do just set up just a basic auto prospect with everything that we have.
Good.
So they get a notification via email as soon as something hits the market, so they get a notification of that.
What do you ask them as far as questions of what they're looking for? Do they have like a long list of must-haves, their would likes, and would settle for? What do you advise them regarding that? Because I know that when I meet with somebody and they're going to ask me about looking for them, I tell them try to keep the must-haves to a very minimum.
Yes.
There's not going to be the perfect home out there. There's going to be the right home, and that's what you want to look for. You want to look for the right homes, but you have to look at what is important to you? Is it the school district, for example? Is it the location? Is it the age of the home? Does it have must it have a pool, for example? Just different things that you consider a must-have, right? So, what do you do when you're interviewing your clients, when you meet with them for the first time? Do you talk to them about that as far as must-haves?
Yes, I do. I talk to them about being flexible. Having that flexibility with the homes that we're looking at, especially in today's market when there isn't a lot. You can't go. There isn't enough inventory for you to go see 4 or 5, 6 homes in one day and be able to dictate and see which one you like a little bit more than the other. So being flexible with that is super important. I do talk to them about that. Some prospective clients are okay with 3 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. Some must have a 4. Mm-hmm. Some homes that have a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, I still send it to those prospective buyers because what if the home is beautiful and it has room for improvement? Mm-hmm. They're able to at least see that there's a possibility for them to go check it out, see it if they like it. And if they do like it, then if it has potential for them.
So being flexible, being open mm-hmm. to different ideas. And that's the good thing that as a realtor, being able to get clients to open up and understand that side of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because if we're not listening to our clients as far as what their goals are and what they're looking to do, we hear them, but are we listening, right? Mm-hmm. And can we picture ourselves? Because I'd like to really look at it myself as okay, if I was in their shoes, what would I want to hear? What would I want to know, right? And to me, that's important. So that's good. That's good that you do that you open it up for them, so that way they can get a better understanding of what it's like. It might increase their opportunities to find something out there, right?
It does. It increases opportunities, and some of them are have a really, really small list. Some of them almost they say, let's just go show me some houses. Yeah. And some of them, most of them, I would say have a small list.
How do you approach as far as the structuring of offers, or what about sight unseen? Do you do anything like that as far as you mentioned about the pictures, right? Mm-hmm. The pictures may not do the house justice, or it may look one way, it looks beautiful in the pictures, and when you show up, it's just really not what you expected. So do you suggest maybe making offers sight unseen or different things like that? What is your perspective with that?
My perspective with sight unseen is I prefer buyers to go and see the house. Mm-hmm. And that's just my perspective on it. I think it's important for the buyer to get a feel for the house of what they're offering for. Go look at the house, see the house. After they see the house, they feel comfortable with the house, then submit an offer at that point. If there's a house that they like, submit an offer on the house that they like. Mm-hmm. Because if they start sending multiple offers on different homes, what if 2 offers get accepted? Is that fair for the seller? Getting in the seller's shoes. Is that fair for them that, they got an offer accepted, but then the buyer decided not to go with that one? Yeah. To me, it's best if they stick to one offer if they like that house.
Got it.
That's my, yeah.
And that's what we're doing this podcast, mm-hmm. George, too. And that's the reason why I like doing this and why we want to create this is because we want to bring those different perspectives, right? Mm-hmm. We want to help you as a realtor, become a better realtor to serve our clients better. Mm-hmm. Realtors that are out there that may be watching this podcast as well. We want to see if they can just give them different perspectives as far as or different ideas to approach this, right? We want to help our clients mm-hmm. in a better way. And that's really what our goal is here, whether it be realtors, whether it be lenders. If we can pull just one golden nugget, that's the goal, then we've succeeded, mm-hmm. right? So, and I want to maybe challenge like the way you think sometimes mm-hmm. and just maybe see what that does. Like, for example, you talked about maybe the seller, right? It being unfair to them, but at the same time, can it put the buyer in a disadvantage if they do like a couple of properties and they're only submitting maybe one offer on the one that they like the most, but what about the other ones? Do you think that maybe that would be something of an advantage that we can give to clients while they're out there looking for us?
It certainly can. Looking at it from that perspective, from a seller's perspective, that they're getting multiple offers either way, it could put the buyer at a disadvantage if you're not presenting multiple offers to different properties at the same time. So it to your point, it could put the buyer at a disadvantage.
Again, like I said, it's just giving the different ideas, mm-hmm. right? And then sight unseen. I know that we want to see, you prefer to have buyers look mm-hmm. at the property before they really, but what I tell my clients when I am pre-qualifying them is I call it the 3 P's: is being being patient, of course, being proactive, and then finally being prepared. So being patient, what I mean is that it could take a week, 2 weeks, a month, a couple months, 6 months, or even up to a year or longer to find the right home, right? But it's about being patient. It will pay off. And then being proactive. And what I mean by being proactive is that, you know how it is. Before we would have had the time to be able to think, okay, well, I do like this house, but there's a couple of things I need to discuss with my wife, with my spouse, with our family, or I just need a day or two to think about it. And in this market, a day or two could be the difference of you getting your offer in, or the sellers get another offer accepted, right? So when we talk about sight unseen and we talk about being patient and then prepared, one of the ideas that we talk about during the pre-approval process and the strategy consultation with our clients is, well, how about making an offer sight unseen? Try it. And at least you get your offer in the door, and then, try to schedule that appointment to go see it. Now, if you get your offer accepted, even better, right? You got your foot in the door, you go to see the property and you like it. Or you can go and you look at the property, you don't like it, then you could just rescind your offer. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, typically what happens in when a listing goes active in the market, there's agent remarks in there, like offers will be presented XYZ day, or there's remarks. Pick up the phone, call the listing agent, build, and talk to him. Hey, I'm thinking about, buyers thinking about submitting an offer. When are you presenting the offers, or when is the seller thinking of, going over the offers? So after you have that conversation with the listing agent, then it gives you that opportunity. Okay, well, I do have, 1 day to go see it, 2 days to go see the property, versus going sight unseen, like you just mentioned. So it does give you that little bit of time to go see the property with the buyers, and sometimes it's going to be the weekend where you have to go and you go and you show the property, because the weekend is when the majority of the listings are coming in on the market right now. But there is that little bit of flexibility to go see the home, and I think it just depends on the listing, right? And that conversation you have with the listing agent. But it also depends on the buyer. If the buyer's like out of town, they can't come see it. They just don't. They live in another city, out of the area. Then send over the offer, and see it that way.
Now, you mentioned one of the key things that stood out to me right now when you were talking about is the communication. The communication that you have with the listing agent, right? When a listing comes up and you reach out to the listing agent to get an idea, to find out what the level of interest is, or maybe to find out questions. Is that something that you normally do when the listing comes up and maybe you have a potential buyer that is interested, or buyers that are interested? Do you normally reach out to the listing agent? Is it a good idea to do that? Or
it's a good idea to do that. It's a good idea to see kind of where the seller stands. What's important to the seller. Of course, highest and best is going to be the most important thing for the seller. But what else is important to them? Do they need to remain in possession for 10, 15, 20 days to move out? Are they looking for a replacement property? And those are the things that when a listing comes up, try to get in contact with the listing agent and try to get some information as far as what's important to the seller.
Yeah, that way you can work together to make sure that it accommodates the seller as well.
Yes.
Does it benefit the buyer and things like that? So, I mean, those are all good pointers that you bring up with that. And now, I'm pretty sure that you get this a lot. And the question is, from a home buyer that is looking and has been looking for several weeks, several months, have made offers and not necessarily had the most success in getting their offers accepted or anything like that. So what do you say to them when they tell you, you know what, I feel like I'm gonna, hold off a little bit. I'm gonna wait until the market slows down or until it becomes more of a buyer's market. What do you say to buyers that are experiencing that?
I ask them why they want to wait. What I tell them is you're probably going to pay more if you wait. Okay. Because houses continue to rise, the prices continue to rise. So, looking at it from last year to this year, houses has steadily increased in prices. So if they continue to wait, they are going to pay more money. If interest rates are very affordable right now, where are they going to be, if you wait January, February, March?
Yeah. If they're already historically low, like what are the chances of them, going even lower, right? Mm-hmm. And things like that. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's not easy, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. It's challenging. It's a challenging market for buyers in different price points, right? Mm-hmm. Different price ranges. So it's not just, I want to find something in the 200 range, or it's, very difficult to do. Buyers that are looking in the 350, 400,000 range are experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that we have the memory, right, of 2008 and what happened in 2008 with the foreclosure crisis and the crash and that happened then. And, mm-hmm. and a lot of buyers, they may have family members, co-workers, friends, even strangers that you run into in the grocery line, right? Probably that'll tell you, no, you should wait. You should wait until it becomes more of a buyer's market. And the question is always, well, when is that going to happen? So I do get that. So keeping our clients motivated is always, something that's a bit of a challenge, right? Yes. To get them to understand that perspective, what the true cost of waiting is. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where really the relationship between a lender and a realtor mm-hmm. really comes into play, right? To be able to transfer the trust between the lender and the realtor and the buyer, to have that communication, that open communication, so that we can overcome these obstacles, these doubts, this misinformation that is out there about maybe waiting and things like that. So that's when I'll pick up the phone as a lender and reach out and say, hey, I think it's a good idea for you to come in. Let's revisit your loan. Let's revisit your pre-approval. Maybe they got a raise. Mm-hmm. Maybe they paid off some debt. Maybe they're open to different programs that have come out and are now available that can help them qualify for a little bit more. Or even just talking about how to structure the offers altogether, and giving them different ideas of how they can maybe structure their offer to make it a little bit stronger, make it stand out a little bit more. So the idea is, again, to keep them confident.
You touched a very important piece right there with, with the buyers and informing them and keeping them motivated, right?
Yeah.
Them feeling comfortable with their payments, Why wait when they're comfortable with their payment now, right? So if they're pre-approved for a certain amount, they have a certain budget, they feel comfortable with their payments, right? They feel comfortable with the price that they're paying for the property, mm-hmm. right? And they're able to afford that, and it's something they like. Why wait?
Yeah.
Why definitely wait till of course we don't know how the market's going to be, 3 or 4 months from now, but we do know where it's at now. So if we have all this information and, you provide that to the buyer, we provide that to the buyer.
Yeah.
So then it educates them. That way they understand, it's actually, it is where I want to be, this payment is where I feel comfortable with, and something that I do tell them when they start, if I don't get a response back if I text somebody and a couple of days goes by and I don't get a response back, and then I pick up the phone and call them.
And that's what we talk about. Like mm-hmm. we talked about earlier is the 3 P's, right? That I mentioned earlier, mm-hmm. the being patient, being proactive, and the last one is being prepared. And that's one of the things that you're talking about right now is being prepared, right? Because you never know when the opportunity is going to present itself.
Yes.
And it could present itself in strange ways, at odd times. And to make sure that, you stay the course, like I said, continuing to update your documents, your financial documents, recent pay stubs, recent bank statements, and also continue to follow our do's and don'ts list, right? Don't go and buy a car out of nowhere because you've been frustrated and you've been wanting to buy a car. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know what? Well, I'm not going to find a house anytime soon. Then you just go and buy a car that weekend. And it's funny because it always happens this way. I don't know what it is. It's just the way life works, right? I guess. And then they'll go buy the car that weekend. Come that Monday, there's that perfect home, right? The right home that is right there ready for them to make that offer on. And now all of a sudden they don't qualify.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things that we want to bring to our audience, right? Is whether, again, be a home buyer, whether it be a homeowner now, right, that they already own their home, mm-hmm. whether it be a realtor, whether it be a lender that's out there. If we can find ways to bring you value, give you little nuggets, little different ideas, different perspectives, so you can help, better serve your clients. That's what we're trying to accomplish here with this. And so, have you experienced anything lately with any clients, any success stories that you've had that where you've had the same obstacles that we talked about right now, right? The struggle. You gave one example earlier about the sight unseen. Is there anything, any other stories that you may have that you felt, really good, that it brought you fulfillment, brought the clients fulfillment of the search taking longer than expected, but then finally it pays off?
Just recently, we got an offer accepted for a client of ours, and he was since, I think it's June, probably May, June, they were looking for a home, and they weren't finding. They needed a three bedroom at least, 1 bath, or 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and no luck. Well, I wouldn't say luck, but no success in them getting into
sometimes it is luck, even probably.
No, right. Sometimes it is luck. That's true. But all these months and no success in getting an offer accepted for them. And finally, just recently they got an offer accepted. And what I really enjoy about this is when I picked up the phone and tell them, hey, your offer got accepted. And it's funny, I told him, hey, we're going to have to stop the search. That's what I told him. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to stop the search for your home. And he goes, why? What happened? I go, because your offer got accepted. He's like, oh, no way. He was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, your offer got accepted, So, he just had a baby,
Mm-hmm.
He just had a baby. And, so now it's a 3 bedroom, 1 bath house that they're getting, and it's currently under escrow. But that is what a realtor is there for,
mm-hmm.
To provide that to buyers, to provide that that sense of joy, and happiness, because a lot of the times, this is the biggest, if not one of the biggest, if not the biggest investments that they do in their lifetimes, and being a part of that, because you create that relationship, and that relationship starts,
mm-hmm.
And it just keeps on going with that family.
Yeah.
And it just goes and it goes and it goes, and that's the cool part about this.
These success stories really they ground you, right?
Yes.
Because you can become desynthesized from the routine of, okay, well, we do, home loans, let's say, for example, and you forget what the true story is, what we're doing as far as impacting people's lives, not just their immediate family, but for generations, their kids, their grandkids, because that's home base,
yes.
right? So the impact that we have in people's lives, sometimes we take that for granted in a way,
mm-hmm.
right? And the success stories, when people share their stories, their ups, their downs, or whatever it may be, it just really resonates with me at least, because again, it reminds me of all the stuff that our job or our career,
mm-hmm.
what it does. So thank you for sharing those stories, man. I appreciate that. Now, once the client closes, right, and they get their keys, what do you do as a realtor to stay in front? Do you do anything to stay in front of them? How do you build your book of business? Do you have a database in place, or what do you do that's a little bit extra to make sure that your clients know that you are there for them?
So after their keys are given to them,
mm-hmm.
that's really when the real relationship starts. You build a relationship throughout the process of searching the home. You're in escrow. You go through a transactional process. House closes, given the keys. It's very difficult for some people, or I would include myself in there, to keep in contact with clients, right? After the fact. So what I do is in my calendar, every 3 months, I get a pop-up on my calendar, and I pick up the phone and I call, a past client of mine,
mm-hmm.
Check up with them. How are you doing? How's everything? How's the house? Any issues have you encountered? Is everything okay? Just check up with them and see how they're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's super important just having a 5-minute conversation, and sometimes they're 15, 20-minute conversations, but it's super important for you to continue to have that conversation with them, because you're building long term, right? And you want to be in front of it, and if they need you, and they have a question about something, they know who to call. They know who to pick up the phone and call, versus not really knowing, and you putting yourself and making yourself available. They have, they know that, oh, you know what, it's already done, but who do I call, or can I call George, or who, who,
if there's a repair that comes up, or maybe like I'm curious about that. What does happen with that? Like, let's say I know they have a home warranty maybe in some cases, but if there's something that comes up with the house that is a repair, like do the home buyers, do the homeowners now at that point, do they have anything to fall back on that they can say that they can go to the realtor to try to get fixed, or how does that go about?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, and I could share you a story as well on something that happened recently. But they do. I always encourage buyers to get a home warranty. Right, home warranty gives them that peace of mind. For that first year. If they have water intrusion, they have a plumbing leak, it covers appliances, their heating and air conditioner, their water heater, those are big expenses.
Yeah.
Right. So this home warranty, they give a minimum amount of copages depending on the home warranty that you get, that the buyers get. And, most of the expenses, if something happens, most of that expense, the home warranty takes care of it. All you give them a call. They set up a service appointment. They send a service provider, depending on what needs to be fixed, to go and check it out, and then they assess it, and then they fix it.
Okay.
So it's recently. I could just share a quick story with you. Recently, a buyer of ours, his ceiling collapsed.
Oh man.
Yeah, his ceiling collapsed, and he calls me. He goes, "Hey George, my ceiling just collapsed in my restroom." I was like, "What happened?" He was like, "It just collapsed." I was like, and I called the warranty, and they told me that they weren't going to cover it. I was like, "Well, let me call the warranty." So I call the warranty, and they're like, "Yeah, indeed, we're not going to cover it." I was like, "Well, the ceiling's not just going to collapse just because it's going to collapse." I go, I'm sure there's some sort of water intrusion up there that caused that ceiling to collapse. I go, so can you send a plumber up there? And they're like, yeah. So they sent a plumber out there, and indeed it was, there was a little bit of a water leakage from the air conditioner that started dripping down on the insulation, and it caused, the ceiling to collapse. And, I followed up with them. Hey, how's everything going? Did somebody go out there? Yeah, somebody went out there. All right, cool. And then, a week later he calls me, he says, hey, they're going to fix it.
That's good.
They're going to fix it, So being able to call your realtor, and say, hey, this is what happened. What do I do now? It's super powerful. And, and having those follow-ups with your clients are super important, because you're there for them.
Yeah. And not just forgetting about them, right? Like, but the thing is that not only that, is that having the knowledge of like what you did, like, most people would just say, well, they're not going to cover it. They're just not going to cover it.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. But you took the time to reach out to the home warranty company directly. You took the time to listen, find out what the reasons for the rejection was, right? And you were able to counter them, say, no, this is the reason why this was going on. And at the end of the day, you were able to save the homeowner some money.
Yes.
Right. And a headache, some stress, and
yes.
especially heading into the winter season, and things like that. That's the last thing you want, So being brand new homeowners coming in with down payment, closing costs, their first payment all of a sudden hitting them, a month and a half later or whatever it may be. And all of a sudden they get the roof to collapse on them, or the ceiling to collapse right there. So, I mean, that's the last thing that they would, be hoping for, right? So you mentioned that you every 3 months you do that, right? Or so more or less, and you have it in your calendar. Is there like a system that you use? Is there a database type of thing that you use, or is it just something that you've created on your own?
Something I created on my own. Yeah. So I have every single client's email, so I put it in my calendar, and then it pops me, hey, it's this client's turning for you to call them. So I call them, see how they're doing, and follow up that way.
Got it.
It's once you start doing that every 3 months, because it really happens every week, with the amount of clients. So it happens every week because it's reoccurring.
Okay.
It's reoccurring every week. So there's phone calls happening every week with clients, just check up on them, see how they're doing. So, and what I do is I'm always in there. I would say I'm always kind of in their mind a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, because, what if they want to sell their property, in a year or 2 years from now, you want to be there and readily available.
It's important, right? That's how you build relationships and you maintain and nurture relationships, and how you can continue to grow your business as well. So, the one thing that we call it, and you've probably seen this before, and we're big on this, is homeownership by design, right? Homeownership by design to me is the concept of, when somebody understands or like wants to become a homeowner, and it's just the idea is born in their head of, okay, look, my goal is to buy a house. And what goes on during that life process of being a homeowner, right? From the moment that idea is born in your head, right? The inception of being a homeowner in your head to, making that phone call to get pre-qualified, to set up, schedule the appointment to get pre-qualified, to going through the pre-approval process, to getting pre-approved, through the home search, to making offers, to getting an escrow, to closing, and then what happens after.
Yeah.
And how you can leverage homeownership. Homeownership, we've said, you see it everywhere. Homeownership has funded retirements, has funded education, has funded, wealth building, building of businesses, maybe, for example. So that's how you leverage it, right? You build wealth through that kind of stuff. And by homeownership by design, what we believe in is to because life changes. And things change, and reaching out to clients long after you've closed an escrow, reaching out and touching bases and finding out, are they still in the best possible situations? Has anything changed to where their homeownership needs must change? Are they gonna did their family grow, for example, in size? So now they're looking to upsize, right? Or did the kids leave now finally for college, and do they need to maybe downsize? Did they need to move closer to their kids, where they're living in college, right? So they maybe need to sell and buy in that area. Do they need to improve their home over time? Of course, maintenance and things like that needs to be done. So the fact of staying in front of our clients throughout, from every step of the way, and all the way through, whatever their financial goals are in the future, and not just theirs, but for their kids, right? Because we talked about, maybe leveraging homeownership to fund college education, right? And what it does for them as well. So, those are all things that home ownership does for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so, again, home ownership by design for us, that's really what it's about. Not only just the idea of buying a home, but how to make it work for you. Do you have any other insights that you want to share? Maybe if we want to circle back to what we were talking about earlier when looking for homes and searching for homes, and maybe structuring of an offer. Do you have any ideas of how to structure offers, maybe so they can get their offers to stand out, or how can you work with your lender to as a partner, right, to make offers stand out when you submit offers to listing agents? Do you have any recommendations, any ideas that you've done that have worked for you before in the past?
So yeah, there's certain certain ideas, and you're able to structure offers according to what the buyer is able to do, right? So recommendations usually happen, prior to getting that offer signed and sent over, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things you could do. Being in a so competitive market right now, if very competitive, right? So if you're able to, if you're going to offer above asking price, leverage that above asking price with providing some sort of an appraisal gap to the seller. If the buyer is able to say the house is $200,000, they're going to offer $240,000, $220,000, for instance. Well, I know as a professional, right, that it's probably not going to appraise that at $240,000, although the buyer wants to submit the offer at $220,000, $240,000. So offering that appraisal gap guarantee to the seller definitely helps with the offer standing out. So whether it's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever the buyer feels comfortable giving above appraised value, definitely helps the offer stand out.
Yeah. So basically an appraisal gap guarantee, so that everybody could understand what an appraisal gap guarantee is. For example, if a house is listed for, let's say, just to keep things simple, at $200,000, and it's listed for 200,000. Seller's asking for 200,000, and you make an offer for, let's say, at 205, right? 205. So with an appraisal gap guarantee, and just, you can correct me if I'm wording this incorrectly, but an appraisal gap guarantee is basically once the appraisal comes in, and let's say the appraised value is at 200,000, you offered 205 with an appraisal gap guarantee of, let's say, the 5,000. Basically, you're stating that you are still willing to buy the house for the 205 and willing to cover that $5,000 difference between the purchase price, 205, and appraised value of 200,000, correct?
Out of pocket. Yes.
Out of pocket.
Out
okay.
of pocket. Yes. So
in addition,
in addition to your closing costs that you were already estimated on, so that would be in addition to the closing costs, to your down payment, if you're going to come in with a down payment. So that would be additional.
Got it.
Okay. Another thing, something else that you're able to do is pay for the seller's closing fees. And you can pay for their escrow, you could pay for their taxes, you could pay for the title policy. You can pay for all their closing fees, right?
Yeah,
that's additional.
Yeah, because there's fees that are normally customarily paid for, right, or split with between the buyer and the seller. So, for example, the individual escrow fee itself, right? Whatever that fee may be, let's say it's $600, customarily that's split, 50-50 between buyer and seller. There's an owner's title policy, and that's usually paid for 100% by the seller. The transfer tax, right, usually is paid for 100% by the seller. So those are fees that maybe the buyer can offer, right? Can offer to say, hey, you know what, I'm willing to pay for the full escrow fee, the owner's title policy, the transfer tax, and that's actually tangible money that the seller is going to be getting, right, or saving net, or I guess netting, right? Netting on top of what they normally would have received, versus maybe the appraisal value, whether that is contingent upon the appraisal value, right? Yes. So that's actual real tangible money that they're going to be getting.
That's already there. You know, if you put that in the offer gets accepted that way, that's money that, you don't have to wait for an appraisal. You don't have to wait for any,
so that benefits the seller quite a bit. Benefits the seller in a net money wise, but it also strengthens the offer for the buyer, right? And it makes them stand out as compared to others. At the end of the day, really is, I guess, about the money then, right? How much money are you willing to come up with out of pocket on top of what you normally would have give for your down payment and for your closing costs and things like that. So
and so, some buyers are able to do that, right? And some buyers are not. It just depends on the buyer, some buyers just don't want to do it. They don't feel comfortable doing it, and that's okay. But it has to be something they feel comfortable with. Yeah. So those are two just right off the back that you could structure an offer with, and then you got your contingencies right after that. What can you do with your inspection contingency? I've seen, appraisal contingencies removed, and for some instances, loan contingencies removed.
So what is a contingency? So that way everybody can understand.
So basically on an offer, a buyer has 17 days after an offer is accepted to do your investigations on the property. So, you in most instances, it's recommended to hire a home inspector, to go and look at the property. They give you a report, a very thorough report of everything that is in the property, and I always tell buyers, like, expect to see some they're there to look at what's not working in the property and everything that is functioning in the property. Yeah. So expect some items to come up that are not working.
Yeah, and the home inspection is something that's different than the actual appraisal inspection, appraisal report, right? So home inspection is different than an appraisal report, right?
Yes. The home inspection is something that, that the buyer pays for, just like the appraisal inspection. But this is just an inspection for the condition of the property. So they have 17 days, the contingency of 17 days, and you can shorten those. You can shorten those to 10 days, you can shorten those to 12 days, so that makes it, or you could remove it just 100% completely. If you're going to remove it, of course, you have to be aware that, you're getting the property as it is, and you don't have those 17 days to fall back on, and so some buyers are depending on the property, should I remove this, because they will ask me, like, because I explain it to them, and,
Yeah.
and then they'll ask me, and depending on the property, I say, what, if do you really like the property is in really good condition, you're able to remove this contingency, it'll help you and straighten up your offer, and so it just depends on the property. Depends if you're getting if you're going to submit an offer in 1920s house, I'm probably going to say I definitely don't recommend you to remove your inspection contingency.
You might want to reduce it, but just not remove it altogether.
Yes, reduce it, but not, because it gives them the ability of requesting for repairs.
Yes,
right. But it also, if they find during that process that what, this is just too much to do here.
Yeah.
I'd rather just not move forward with this because there's too much to do here. Then they have that option as well.
Yeah.
So it gives them an out if they need to. It happens very seldom, but it gives them that
protection. Yeah, just to make sure that
protects
they,
the buyer.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's really what everything's about, right? It's also protecting, but giving them that advice so that way they do understand that if they are going to remove or reduce any contingencies, they have to be fully aware of how that can affect the consequence of that, right? So that's good stuff. And then you mentioned also loan contingencies as well, to reduce those or eliminate those. What is a loan contingency?
So after the inspection, you got your appraisal. So doesn't matter if you remove your appraisal contingency, it doesn't matter where the appraisal comes in. You'll have to come up with that money. You have to come up with that difference. So that's something that the buyer would have to come up with if they do decide to remove the appraisal contingency. And then you got your loan that you're 100% solid. So your loan's going to close because it's going to close. If not, how are you going to come up with that money to close on this property? So it's super important for buyers to understand that that those are there to protect them.
Yeah.
Right. And removing any of those would they'd have less protections of themselves, when it comes down to the transactional process.
Things can happen. So like a loan contingency, like, of course things can happen, whether it be, something unexpectedly comes up with credit, unexpectedly, something with their employment happens. Or the fact of the matter is, even sometimes the fact that maybe the lender, for whatever reason, didn't properly and accurately prepare the client, right? The buyer, for their loan, and something comes up, right, that they didn't, discover during that, the verification process, or maybe just the buyer didn't really fully understand the overall costs of what it may be, right? So the I guess the loan information, the loan terms weren't articulated clearly enough, right, to the home buyer. So that's usually a key of why a loan contingency. Removing that, if something goes wrong with your loan, goes sideways, where all of a sudden the loan can't close, you're going to lose. What are the consequences? Are they losing your deposit?
Lose your deposit. You could use the deposit, and there could be consequences beyond that. But you definitely lose your deposit.
Do you recommend strengthening the amount of deposit that you give when you write up the offer? And what is a good faith deposit? Like, I know I get a lot of clients that ask, well, what does it mean, good faith deposit or earnest money deposit? What does that mean? When do I have to give that, and why do I have to give that?
I do. The stronger the good faith deposit is, it does help your offer. Although you if something goes wrong, you have those contingencies. You're for the most part able to get that back. But the earnest money deposit is a good faith deposit that gets deposited into the escrow account through title. And what that does is you're giving that good faith money, earnest money, in the transactional process. And what that does is the seller knows, okay, they are serious. They're giving me this, whatever that might be. If it's 1%, it's $2,000 of 200,000. So let's just do that. So $2,000. So, okay. So if they have a little bit of, something goes sideways, and after they're removed, let's just say they remove the inspection contingency, the seller is able to try to maintain that deposit, but at the same time, the buyer is able to get that deposit back if something were to go wrong, if you still have those contingencies in place.
Within the contingency period.
Within the contingency period, yeah. But if it's past the contingency period, then it makes it a little bit difficult for for the buyer to get that back.
So as a quick recap, one is maybe offering an appraisal gap guarantee, maybe to offer to the seller to pay for some of their what customarily would be paid for by the seller or split with the seller,
yes,
or a combination of both, right? Reducing or eliminating loan contingencies, appraisal contingencies, inspection contingencies, and things like that. Maybe offering a higher amount of good faith deposit that shows that you're more of a serious buyer, right, to the seller, things like that. What else can you see that can help out? Whether it be where you could utilize your lender, for example, to help strengthen or to make that offer stand out. Remember the number of days closing. Is there any other things that you can...
reducing the days? So instead of a 30-day, making it a 25-day escrow. That
so helps. Reducing the term, escrow period.
Yeah, escrow period. That definitely helps. When submitting an offer, making sure your lender is aware that you're submitting that offer, whether it's by informing them, hey, I just submitting an offer for this client of ours. Copying them on the email when the offer gets sent over. That way the lender could actually, get in contact with the listing agent and give them a little bit more information on the client, right? Pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what, this just have a conversation with the listing agent. That definitely goes a little bit further beyond that, maybe providing a underwritten approval, when you submit an offer.
Versus just a pre-approval, right? An underwritten approval versus approval,
yeah, that definitely helps out as well.
Yeah, that underwritten approval is worth its weight in gold, in our industry, right?
Yes,
so it's something that is 100% solid now. So those are all good ideas to hopefully maybe strengthen your offer, make it stand out. Is there anything else that maybe that you can offer up that is just off the wall, just different? Maybe just really creative.
Yeah, very creative. Reducing your commission.
Okay.
Reducing your commission. I've seen it where I've representing the seller. I've got offers where listing agents reduce their commission. They reduce it, so that's more money for the seller in their pocket, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a little different. That's different.
Yeah,
it's different for the seller, right?
Yeah,
it's like instead of getting a 3%, you're gonna get a 2.5%, or instead of getting 2.5, I'll take a 2%. So I've seen that happen, and it's perfectly cool.
Yeah,
it happens.
I've seen even some where letters are written on behalf of the buyers to give to the sellers, that talks about their family, their history a little bit, and why that house is important to them, and why the house is something that they really would like to purchase, and things like that, and how it'll benefit their family, how it's going to impact their family, and things like that. So, those are different ideas too.
Yeah, something I have done is while we're at the house, with the family, just took a quick picture of the family and myself and just send it to the listing agent. That way they can, or send it with the offer. That way they can show the seller that this is where the offer is coming from. That way they can put a face to whose offer it is. That just stands out a little bit more.
The reason that, again, this podcast is created is to really give any kind of help that we can provide, right? To whether it be the lender or the realtor, and give the different perspectives, right? And being that we've lived that on the lending side of it, and I know there's a lot of misinformation out there. So sometimes the lender will tell them what they want to hear versus what they need to hear, right? And honestly, we want to tell you what you want to hear. Hopefully, it is to get pre-approved, right? Because that's what you want to hear at the end of the day, right? that you're pre-approved, but as long as it's the truth.
Yes.
But we also are here to tell you what you may not want to hear, but why and how can we go about fixing that? Mm-hmm. I come to find that a lot of my buyers sometimes come back to me because I go over the options with them, right? I go over the different options that they may be eligible for, and I go over the pros and cons. And then I make my recommendation, right? But there's some times where a client only qualifies for a certain loan because of their credit score, their employment situation. Because believe me or not, certain loan programs require for income calculations to be done a certain way, or the employment history to be looked at a certain way. So not all buyers may qualify for a conventional loan, or not all buyers may qualify for an FHA loan for whatever that reason may be, right? Depending on their financial situation. So what I've experienced is that if I pre-qualify somebody, for example, for an FHA loan, because of their financial situation that only restricts them to an FHA loan, to where a conventional may not benefit them, they'll call me back while they're looking for properties and things like that, and they'll come back and say, hey, well, how come I didn't qualify for a conventional loan? I know you mentioned to me that we couldn't qualify for these reasons, but my realtor is telling me that I should get a conventional loan. Why? So then, can you tell me again why I don't do it? So
and to your touch on your last point you just made right now, that realtor telling the buyer like, hey, how come you don't have a conventional pre-approval? But that's where the relationship between the lender and the realtor needs to happen, and that's where it almost needs to be like in sync. But like pick up the phone and talk to your lender. Hey, can they, if needed, are they able to get pre-approved for a conventional loan? Yeah, before even probably bringing that up to the buyer, because it's not going to help anybody with you bringing something up to the buyer that maybe they're not going to be able to achieve. Yeah, if they're not able to achieve a conventional pre-approval because of certain amount of reasons, then this your FHA approved. We need to look for a home that is actually FHA is going to qualify for an FHA loan. Yeah, and so having that conversation with that lender is super important.
Yeah, I mean, it does help. I mean, I think it will help, most, right? It's because at that point you can also create that relationship with that lender and maybe even help build your business moving forward, and things like that. And the other thing is that even when, like, let's say, for example, we're getting a lead from you, for example, it does help us a lot more if you were to give us, if you were to vet that lead a little bit. And I'm not saying pre-qualifying them, for us, that's not what you're going to do, but just find out exactly, like, hey, is there a certain time that they prefer to be called? Is there a certain method that they prefer to be contacted with, whether it be by text, email, by phone? Are they first-time home buyers? Are they looking to buy a second home? Are they looking to buy as an investment property? Just things like that, just some very small, minor information. So that way we can, when we do reach out, we have a better idea of, okay, well, how to approach it, how to connect with them and things like that. But what if you were a listing agent? What if you had a house for sale, right? Listed, you're representing your seller, and you get an offer from an agent or on a buyer that has an out-of-town lender. What would your approach be in that situation? Do you just like flat out not consider it, or you explain what happens in that situation? No. Obviously, you're not going to make the decision. You're not the one making the decision, right? Obviously, it's the buyer at the end of the day. But obviously you have the experience in dealing with different people, and you're going to make your recommendations to the seller, of course. Yeah. So how would you approach that?
It present the offer to the seller. Present the different options that they have. Yeah. And then, if that's the highest and best offer, and that's the offer that the seller decides to go with, then I make my recommendations from there. Okay, if this is the offer that you feel more comfortable with doing, it's an outside lender. Let's give them a call. Let's have a conversation with them. Let's see kind of where this buyer's at. Do they have a underwritten approval for this buyer? If they do, let's go ahead and get them to send that over to us. Because it's an outside lender, still, of course, offer gets considered, and then the seller at that point makes that determination. And if you're not able to get a hold of that lender at that point, you can't have a conversation with them, that they don't call you back, then
it raises a red flag basically as far as the communication of it. So.
Yeah, why can't you get a hold of them? So if you can't get a hold of them at that point, then it's kind of a red flag. And especially if you leave messages or send them an email.
So in with saying that, as far as like reviews and things like that, I mean, they're going in depth, right? As far as a realtor that's representing the seller, going in depth, doing your due diligence to make sure that when you present all the different options or the different offers to the seller, you've done your due diligence, right? So for example, you have 4 or 5, 6 different offers, and making sure that you reach out to the different lenders, right, that are attached to the different offers to make sure that what they've done to pre-qualify somebody properly and accurately, right? And that way you could make a more solid recommendation to your seller.
To the seller,
right?
Yeah.
So I think those are good ideas, good points that you have, and I think those were something that I think is going to be beneficial, right, to the seller to make that smart decision. Okay, well, this offer is really solid, and maybe might not be the highest, but it is the best, right? And that's what we want to make sure that it all ties in together, right? As far as the numbers, the flow of the process. Is it going to be smooth? Is it going to be difficult? Who is the lender? What type of loan? The amount of the offer, what contingencies there is, and all that kind of stuff. As when you put it all together, when you present those different options to the seller, I think that's something that as a listing agent is required, right? It's needed. So you bring that value and do provide the best service to your seller.
Yeah, bring that value to the seller in that way, and because not always the highest is going to be the best. Mm-hmm. Not always is it going to be where somebody is offering. I'm going to use a 200,000 again, just to make it simple.
Yeah.
A listing for 200, somebody offers you 250. That's the highest, but not necessarily is that going to be the best.
Yeah.
For a recommendation, because, if the market value based on the comparable analysis that was conducted is at 200, where's the other 50,000 going to come from, as far as an appraisal goes. So there's going to be issues there. So, on something like that, recommendation would be, 250,000 sounds really good, but it's really not going to be the best for you, because there's no way that this property is going to appraise at 250. If you have a nice structured offer as a listing agent, and it's not the highest, but it's the best structure that's going to suit the needs of what the seller is looking for, then that's that's the recommendation that gets handed over to the seller.
Yeah, and same thing on the other side is the best is the best really the best in, for example, a cash offer. You have 3, 4, 5, 6 offers, and one of them is a cash offer, right? Most people think that automatically you would go with the cash offer, right? Because it's the quickest, it's the fastest. But in reality, how fast can you close a cash offer right now? Is it 15, 20, 21 days?
15, yeah.
15?
You can close it in 15 days. But a cash offer is not always the best.
And that's what I mean. So for example, as a lender on my side, and one of the things that I do when I'm communicating with the listing agents on behalf of my buyer and explaining why our buyer is, very strong, well prepared, what we've done as a lender to make sure that we properly and accurately pre-approve them and inform them and educate them, is that, hey, because we've done this stuff up front, because we have possibly even an underwritten approval up front, hey, guess what? We can close within maybe 15, 18, 21, 25 days versus maybe a cash offer that is maybe $10, $15, $20,000 less than what our buyer is offering, but maybe just have to wait an extra, 2, 3, 5, 10 days, right, in order for us to be able to close. And I think that is something that sometimes gets missed. Cash offers are king. No, not always, right?
No, not always. And if you have a cash offer, as a listing agent and as a seller as well, there's certain things that need to be in structured in the offer. That way it makes it a little bit more solid. Some contingencies need to be removed at that point, because it's a cash offer, right? There's no appraisal contingency. It's just plain cash,
right?
You know what I mean? So if that's going to be the case, then there needs to be something in there in that offer that's structured to benefit the seller,
yeah,
right? And the seller, not always a $200,000 offer is gonna be more to them appealing than a $210,000 offer with guarantees,
and not only that,
appraisal gaps,
yeah, and not only that is that also, the cash offer may close in 15 days, but the seller may not be in that much of a rush,
yes,
to close that in 15 days and things like that. So, as long as the offer is truly to the max benefit the max potential benefit of the seller, I think that's where the key is, right? Versus just using the simple term of highest and best, right? In a multiple offer situation. So, but yeah, I mean, and I think that's where, professionals as yourself come in and really take it to heart and understand as a professional, as your career, to really inform yourself, to really be different, stand out, educate yourself as far as how to better serve your clients, right? To better to becoming a better negotiator, how to read the contracts better, how to make sure you communicate in a different way and things like that than just the status quo that sometimes a lot of us are just taught, right? That, you do it this way and this is the way you normally do it, and you just do it and do it that way, and just really is status quo, right? So we want to be a little different. So, but again, just to go back and talk about why we're here, what our purpose is with creating these podcasts is to be of service, right? To bring education, whether it be buyers, potential buyers, whether it be homeowners, right? Whether it be a realtor or even a lender. In the future here, as we have additional guests, appraisers, escrow companies, home inspections, solar companies that come in to visit with us to provide different insight and information so we can provide to the audience, so we can become smarter homeowners, smarter buyers, smarter realtors, smarter lenders. I think that's going to be key. So I want to say thank you, George, for taking the time. I know that you should probably be out there looking for homes right now, knocking on people's doors, getting some listings, or maybe showing some properties to potential buyers. But it means a lot that you came to visit with us today and share your knowledge, your expertise, your perspective of things, and how you approach the business side of it, on the real estate side of it. So I want to say thank you with that. And do you want to say anything as far as any contact information, anything you want to share about yourself, anything at all before we end?
Fidel, well, thank you for having me here today. It's actually pretty fun. So thank you for the opportunity. If anybody needs real estate services, local realtor here, George, my phone number is 559-474-7832. Anything you need, give me a call. I'm here to help.
I serve
the Central Valley. Primarily, I have a lot of Madera, Fresno, but anywhere in the Central Valley, I'm familiarized with, so I'm able to help and assist with any of the real estate needs. So
awesome, excellent.
So thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. And keep an eye out. Again, we're going to hope to have you back here pretty soon. Yeah. We will invite additional realtors as well, appraisers, like I mentioned to you, maybe even some lenders as well, so they can share their insight, their perspective. And again, it goes back to the name, the ZABE Smart Mortgage Podcast, right? And again, it's for a reason, right? To be smarter, to give us insight, tools of any ways we can become better. That's what we're here for. So I want to say thank you again and look forward to the next one.
This has been an episode of the ZABE Smart Mortgage Podcast. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your next home, or refinancing, being smart about your mortgage options will save you time and money. ZABE Mortgage Group connects you to the technology, resources, and education to make you mortgage smart. From pre-approval to applying to getting approved and managing your loan, visit zabemortgage.com.